In The Godfather, we embark on a journey to the hidden world of the Mafia, a dangerous world full of betrayal and deceit. We are introduced to various characters, all with their own self-interests in mind, but hide it behind courteous smiles and handshakes. Don Vito Corleone was the head of the most powerful Mafia family in the country. Not only did it come with status and respect, but also immense wealth. He owned various businesses and had various investments in the financial and real estate markets, in addition to controlling various criminal activities and businesses all across the country, putting him at the head of a multi-billion-dollar organization. But there does come a price. As I'm sure you all know, greed, jealousy and envy are extremely powerful motivations for people, and when combined, it becomes extremely dangerous for everyone. Such was the case of the Sicilian bodyguard, Fabrizio, who, after developing a bond and friendship with Michael as he hid in Sicily, later sold him out of greed and spite. But Fabrizio was no mastermind that would be willing, or even able to conjure such a bold and daring plot, just to satisfy his jealousy and growing resentment towards Michael. Rather, he found himself as a pawn in a much larger game. He was no more than a ploy used to benefit far more powerful individuals. And so the question is, who is the true mastermind behind this, and how does it play a role in the overall Mafia war? Was the real target Michael or Apollonia? And did Michael get his revenge in the end? Who was truly behind this attack and why? And so that's what we will be answering, giving you the complete picture of how this event was such a pivotal turning point and had completely changed that world forever. It's such an important event that is often overlooked, but plays an imperative role in the story of the Corleone family legacy. Fabrizio had an extreme fascination with America and American culture, and dreamt of moving there one day and opening a pizzeria.
Take me to the America. Thank you. I'll be the best man you can get.
And so when he was tasked of protecting Michael, while he was in hiding in Sicily, and later concluding that Michael was an American, he would constantly ask all sorts of questions about the country, and if he could go work for him there. But a combination of a few different factors would all soon cause him to lose any sense of loyalty or friendship towards Michael. After discovering who Michael really was, and Michael marrying Apollonia, in addition to the deteriorating conditions in Sicily, his jealousy and envy had grown to a boiling point. And so, once word had reached back to New York of Michael's whereabouts, he was approached by none other than Don Emilio Barzini. Barzini promised Fabrizio everything he could have wished for. He was going to receive a huge payment, move him to New York with a new identity, and set him up with the pizzeria he had dreamed of for so long. Although it seemed that they had developed a friendship and bond, Fabrizio accepted without hesitation, letting his greed and jealousy take over. Although Michael was the only one supposed to get hurt by this attack, however, it wouldn't go ahead as Barzini had planned. Nonetheless, this event in some way actually further advanced Barzini's plan, as now he leveraged Michael's life with Vito, allowing him to slowly expand while the Corleone family was paralyzed, unable to do anything. But once again, Barzini made a critical mistake. He had underestimated a Corleone.
But I didn't know until this day that it was Pacino all along.
As we learn towards the end of the film, and as discussed in one of our previous videos, the true puppet master behind the consecutive attacks on the Corleone family was not the obvious Don Philip Tattaglia and the ambitious Virgil Sollozzo. Rather, it was the cunning Don Emilio Barzini, who had been the true mastermind all along. Even though it's true that Tattaglia was heavily involved in this scheme, he was rather just a pawn in what can be considered an extremely high-level and high-stakes chess game, where the winner receives control over the most powerful, and in fact the most profitable criminal organization the world had ever seen. But as for the loser, I guess you can guess what his outcome will be. It's important to mention that it was Barzini's long-time ambition to replace Vito as the unofficial figurehead of the Mafia and as the most important member of the commission. He was determined to fulfill this long-time ambition, however understood that in order to succeed in such an audacious plan, he would need to wait for the perfect opportunity to strike, and was willing to wait for as long as needed. And so Barzini carefully and quite brilliantly orchestrated a series of attacks on the Corleone family. When he saw an opening, he struck. He understood that taking out Vito was the only way he could succeed and crush the Corleone empire. He knew with Vito out of the way he could easily take on whoever steps in to take over. And as for the other family's reaction, Tom pretty much sums it up.
The other New York families might wind up supporting Sollozzo just to avoid a long, destructive war.
So it's clear that Barzini had put a lot of thought and planning into this plot, as he did not want any chance for anything to go wrong. But not everything went to plan, as the Don actually survives. Although extremely weak and unable to lead his family, the fact that he could recover was enough to cause concern. In addition, he made the same mistake again and underestimated a Corleone, as Sonny turned out to be quite the strategist, and had been severely underestimated. He did not expect Sonny to be a somewhat competent leader, even winning at one point. But even so, this problem also has a similar solution. So this was a mere obstacle that can be taken care of, so he adapted, and was not going to back down that easily, and had the patience to strike at the perfect moment. And when that opportunity presented itself, through none other than the disgruntled Carlo Rizzi, he made his move.
Look how they massacred my boy.
And so after taking out the acting boss, and the one person left who had the best chance to maintain the empire while Vito was out of action, he just needed to take out his final target for good measure. He wanted to throw one final blow that would definitely cripple what remains of the Corleone empire.
I swore that I would never break the peace.
But won't they take that as a sign of weakness?
It is a sign of weakness.
You gave your word that you wouldn't break the peace. I didn't give mine. You don't have to have any part in it.
After returning back from Sicily, Michael had to give his undivided attention to learning as much as possible from the Don, in order to take over and rescue the family from its desperate situation. However, he did not forget the vendetta he had against particularly those who murdered his wife. And so he had his people try to track down Fabrizio, while he carefully planned on wiping out the masterminds who wronged him and his family. And after years of waiting, Michael's top enforcers were able to track down Fabrizio. This is where the film slightly differs from the novel, as in the novel, Michael finds out his location fairly early on, and includes him as part of the list of people he would take out during what we know as the baptism of fire. There are also a few different versions of how Michael actually got his revenge. In the Godfather novel, Michael sends his enforcer to Fabrizio's pizza store and pulled his gun out and said,
Michael Corleone says hello.
In the extended edition, Fabrizio suffers a similar fate as Apollonia. But there is a scene that never made it into the original Godfather 2 film or the extended editions. You probably have seen the image of Michael holding a lupara. Michael would have gone in person to avenge his wife's death, looking Fabrizio directly and taking him out. And as for Barzini, we all know that he had finally had to suffer the consequences of underestimated a Corleone. Which version do you think would have been better? Comment below.